Welcome to Seagull Maritime's module on mooring equipment inspection. In this video, you will learn more about the methods that can be used to inspect mooring equipment and what the inspection can find.
Well, I was new to the Janamarie, so I was just trying to see how they worked. Most crews do things their own way, but I remember thinking at the time that they were all very relaxed about the operation. While we waited to let go, I noticed that the roll on the pedestal was a bit loose. They told us in training that you should never use a pedestal roller or fair lead with a loose bearing. So I told the bosun about it, and he told me not to worry about because it will be getting fixed at the next dry dock. It didn't seem right to me, but I was new on the ship, and you know, when you're new, you don't want to cause a fuss. And as I say, the bosun seemed okay about it.
Well, there was a lot to do that day after letting that container ship go. I was supposed to be working with Dave on the quayside checking the fenders, so we weren't paying much attention to the Janamarie as it was unmooring. We had our own job to do, and it was a busy port with ships coming and going all the time, so we just carried on working as normal. I still remember the sound of that bang. It's like it's printed on my mind. I don't think I'll ever be able to forget it either. So I was bent down at that moment. I was looking over the quayside at the fender, and I felt a breeze passing over the back of my neck. But it was very quick like, less than a second. Then I looked to my right, and there was Dave about 10 metres away. I mean, one second he was stood next to me, and the next he was over there. There was blood everywhere. I tell you, I've seen some accidents in my time, but this was really horrible. Horrible.
I wish I would have been a bit stronger and made sure he would listen to me, but I didn't. I just let them carry on with the mooring operation, and now look what happened.
Poor maintenance occurs in two ways. Either the actions of the person completing the maintenance have not been thorough, or the maintenance has not been completed when it should have been. As with any machine, mooring equipment must be well maintained to ensure that all of its parts function as they should. If parts cannot do this, they become stressed and fail, often causing a knock-on effect with the failure of other parts. A recent Classification Society report showed that lost anchors and chains are commonly caused by the brake lining or brake band on the windlass being in a poor state and not adequately able to control the chain movement. Similarly, joining shackles and swivels being defective where the pin is not secure and the anchor becomes detached from the chain. There have been cases where vessels have grounded or collided with fixed objects because of mooring equipment failure. There have also been injuries to personnel caused by parts failing.
Mooring equipment in poor condition can cause serious accidents. It's our job to follow the inspection regime thoroughly to see if the equipment is fully maintained and ready for safe use. If not, we need to decide when and where any maintenance is required. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Alright, let's go.
Let's go.
Deck equipment usually comes under the planned maintenance system, but it is possible that the required maintenance has not been done properly. Despite planned maintenance, there are circumstances where more regular maintenance is required. Mooring equipment is very commonly positioned on exposed decks and is open to the weather and heavy seas. Bearings and cogs should always be lubricated to enable efficient power transmission. but the spray and water breaking over the bow can wash grease out of bearings and off gear wheels and cogs, allowing corrosion to start. A poorly maintained windlass might not be able to haul the expected amount of deployed anchor chain, especially if anchored in deep water. In addition, mooring equipment that is used more regularly may require more maintenance. There are 4 methods we use to inspect all types of fixed mooring equipment. The first is a visual check of the mooring system management plan, if in place, or other maintenance records. The next is a systematic inspection of the equipment itself, following the steps outlined on a checklist. The third type is a performance check of mooring system components. This will include listening to the equipment and, if possible, checking for bearing temperature difference, hydraulic pressure, and electrical power consumption. The final type of inspection involves an analysis of winch and windlass sump oil. If hydraulically powered machinery is used, analysis of hydraulic oil will be required as well. In most cases, samples will be taken on board and sent ashore for analysis.
Throughout the inspection, I want you to ask yourself, is the equipment fit for purpose? Is it okay to use? Is there anything that we can see that indicates the possibility of failure, or that it might operate outside normal operational limits?
What sort of things are we looking for?
Well, there are a few things that we can look for. Any sign of rust on gear wheels or the brake band is an indication of poor maintenance.
Okay.
Other signs might include dried up grease in nipples, insufficient grease around a bearing, and paint or heavy corrosion on warping drums. There may be leaks of hydraulic or sump oil, poor electrical connections or broken down insulation, or corroded or broken hydraulic oil pipe clamps.
We want to perform a full visual check of the area to look for any defects. With the rollers, we're looking for any paint or heavy corrosion on rollers attached to pedestals and fair leads. You may also see grooves cut into rollers or chocks. If there is a loose bearing causing a roller to wobble, or any seized rollers on pedestals and fair leads, then maintenance or isolation will be required before mooring operation can go ahead.
It is always important to check the winch and windlass deck foundation structures. Corrosion can degrade the thickness of a structure, but there can also be signs of physical damage, often caused by the equipment being overloaded. This will result in cracks or structural deformity. There are also a few checks you can make when the equipment is operational. Any unusual noises heard from equipment should be reported for investigation.
When equipment is being used, or immediately afterwards, it's a good idea to check the temperature of the bearing shells. If a bearing is dry or damaged, it will tend to heat up with use. And any of those dry or damaged bearings can easily be identified by putting your hand on the bearing keeps, when the winch is not turning, of course, and comparing with those of other bearings.
Okay.
The next thing to consider is performance checks of mooring equipment. When checking the hydraulic power pack of a mooring windlass or winch, check the oil level is adequate using a sight glass or dipstick. Next, check any cooling method employed for the hydraulic system, such as a fan unit or a cooling water system. Then start the power pack and check the pressure, ensuring it complies with the manufacturer's requirements for the equipment. When power is available, check that it is free from any covers and out of gear. Use the control system to turn the winch in both directions up to full speed, ensuring the device operates as expected, with no signs of hydraulic oil leakage.
If the device is running slow, it could be that the flow control valve in the hydraulic system needs to be adjusted. The automatic brakes should operate as expected with the device stopped or turning. Now, we have to check a few other things to ensure that the equipment is fit for purpose.
Check that the dog clutches slide in or out with ease. Check that the screwed shafts used to operate brakes or clutches operate with normal force, are greased and not bent. Check the setting for the brake on a windlass with a powered brake for wear compensation. Inspect emergency stop buttons, which should be free from signs of water ingress. Check their functionality by pressing the buttons and seeing whether the device stops.
We need to check that the rollers are fully operational and turn using reasonable manual force.
Is that just the rollers used for the operation?
No, we want to check them all, including those not normally used for mooring. Throughout the inspection, we're looking for any defects that may affect the safety of mooring operations. Now, there are a number of common defects found during inspections which may require extra maintenance.
One thing to look for is a build-up of scale on the steelwork that causes wasting. This can occur on brake bands, covers, gratings, and foundation structures. Exposed parts of gear wheels and screwed shafts can start to rust or seize up if protective grease has been removed whilst operating equipment. Brake bands can have a corroded, pitted, or rusty surface and may not release. Warping drums may not be smooth or could be covered with paint. Hydraulic pipe joints can be subject to vibration, causing leaks, and the pipes themselves can be corroded to the point where they become porous and leak oil. Shafts can be bent or have securing pins missing. Clutches can be difficult to slide in or out. Brakes can be hard to put on or off with corrosion on the thread, or there could be a bent brake shaft. The device may also cut out due to power overload or high temperature. With other equipment, rollers and leads can be grooved or seized up. A groove is often a sign of a seize roller, and that the equipment has been under excessive tension. There may be corroded steel supports on pedestals, roller fairleads and chocks, badly corroded or bent foundations. Or the link pin's circlip may be missing or broken on brake drums. There may be worn dog clutches or noisy bearings. And pins for locking handles may be missing or not attached to the device by a chain.
It's essential that you also inspect the nuts and bolts, as vibrations can cause nuts and bolts to loosen. Now, the bolt could be large, such as when part of the anchor D shackle pin attaches the anchor to the chain, or it could be much smaller, such as the bolt that holds a pipe or cable clamp. Whatever type they are, they should not be loose.
Okay.
With anchor chains, common defects include loose or missing studs from links. A twisted anchor chain, when it has rotated axially 90 degrees, due to jumping when anchor dropped, and either the guillotine bar not locking into place or a bent bow stopper.
The last thing to check is the brake drum. The drum should be free from heavy corrosion and scale, and you'll need to visually inspect the whole brake drum by turning the windlass or winch. Though enclosed braking surfaces and brakes can only be thoroughly inspected once the device is taken apart at dry dock. Once you've finished your inspection, it's important to make a plan to resolve any defects found. We may also need to raise an unscheduled maintenance report in the planned maintenance system. We may also need to make a work list for any work required to resolve any deficiencies found.
The work identified during an inspection will not necessarily be done by the vessel crew. Steelwork repairs and brake band repair or replacement may be carried out by shore personnel, possibly at the next dry dock. More minor work will be added to the job list for the crew to undertake. This may include applying grease or flushing bearings, retightening pins and shackles that are found to be slack, and replacing any missing seizing. Any equipment needing a major repair should be isolated so that it won't be used. All vessels are recommended to have a mooring system management plan that itemizes equipment and records inspections and maintenance carried out, including brake setting and strength tests on a winch or windlass. This plan can form part of the vessel's safety management system.
Ultimately, it's our responsibility to make sure that we rectify all major defects as soon as possible. We need to identify all defects, then put plans in place to fix them and make sure that repairs are made.
Okay, cheers.
Mooring operations involve very high forces that must be controlled to ensure the safety of those involved. Let's take a look back at some of the key points to remember when inspecting mooring equipment. Poor maintenance occurs when the person completing the maintenance has not been thorough, or the maintenance has not been completed when it should have been. The maintenance of mooring equipment is typically covered by the planned maintenance system, but this may not allow for circumstances on board that hasten the need for maintenance, such as equipment exposed to heavy seas. There are 4 methods used to inspect fixed mooring equipment. This could be a visual check of the maintenance records, a systematic inspection of the equipment itself, performance checks of all devices, or an onshore analysis of hydraulic and sump oil. The aim of the inspection is to identify any defects, there are a number of common defects that would indicate the need for further maintenance or work to rectify the issues. Once the defects have been identified, a plan must be put in place to rectify them. This work may be done by shore personnel or the crew on board. Any equipment requiring major repair should be isolated. After completing an inspection, it is your responsibility to make sure a plan is in place to fix all defects. It is essential that all major defects are rectified as soon as possible.
Okay, Chief.
Working on the board ships, you must really like that. Other way, you will not fit in the environment. And this could be a problem.
Despite all these challenges I might go through, I must be alert and positive in my mind. It's quite hard, but for the sake of the family, we will do our best.
When people talking about being a sea, seeing the world, I would say nowadays is not anymore like that. Mostly we see the ship, mostly we see the airports where we are arriving, where we are leaving.
A seafarer, when he's on board, he's on his second home altogether. And in a home, you don't have to do full day of work.
The main one I see is loneliness, isolation, spending a long time away from home, family, friends.
How do we make life at sea enjoyable, not just bearable? We want to make it enjoyable. We want people to thrive at sea.
Creating the right conditions for people to thrive and flourish in their work can often be difficult. For seafarers, it can be even more challenging. Tied to an environment where the boundaries between living and working sometimes blur, they have fewer opportunities to relieve everyday pressures. That's why paying attention to well-being can make a real difference to health, happiness, and the whole experience of living and working at sea.
Well-being at its very simplest is a sense of feeling healthy and well and happy and contented. Trying to be positive about things rather than negative, having meaningful relationships with people, having meaning in your life, meaning and purpose, and having a sense of achievement, setting goals, achieving things. They all make up that concept of wellness. That leads on to better decision making, being able to integrate with your crew members more easily, encouraging people, working well as a team, having less accidents. Because if you're fully present, then you'll be paying attention to the risks. And it doesn't take a lot to change it. It's a bit like going to the gym. You've got to be committed to do it.
The good news is that we can do a lot to control our well-being. And it can start by simply becoming more aware of the positives in everyday life.
Sometimes when you woke up, it's like feeling, it's work again. Too many works to do. So if you have on deck, you have jobs like shipping. It's like, this is work, but for me, it's also a fun work. You think for yourself, it is not so bad. It's like working on your free time. Yeah.
When day-to-day stresses build up, positivity can be hard to find, which makes it even more important to notice when we're happy.
I think it's very important that we appreciate what we have today, appreciate the nature out there. If you go out and spend just 15 minutes out on the deck and see your surroundings out there, it's a beautiful world, it's a beautiful nature all around. A common man will not find that on any particular day.
With fewer opportunities for shore leave, rest periods on the ship become ever more important as a break from the work environment. So when you have the chance, make time for doing things you enjoy.
After dinner or after work for the whole day, it's either I'm watching movies or reading books. Books that talks about action, the mystery, reading the next sequel, the next book about it. I also like playing video games when I'm bored of reading books. Doing physical exercise somewhat helps to take out stress from me. It helps my body relax after a long, tiring day in work.
When you're really focused on something challenging, you can lose a sense of time passing, and that can be when you're at your happiest. This is known as a flow activity. The best flow activities are so physically or mentally stimulating and absorbing that you can't think about anything else. The state of flow feels good in the moment, and the more you do it, the more your well-being accumulates over time. Flow activities aren't just confined to the gym or rec room, they can also be work or learning related.
I'd like overhauling, because every day when there is overhaul something, machineries or whatever, I could discover more and more, and I can expand my knowledge more and share it to my colleagues. Whatever I have experienced, how to do this in the right way, in a safer way, and a fastest way.
Learning a new skill or studying for a qualification can lead to one of the cornerstones of well-being, achievement. But equally, achievement could be simply staying fit and healthy and earning money to support a family.
Achievements can be wide-ranging. It could be the planning of moving a house, buying a new pet, having a child. And the fact of planning then allows you to put some structure in around how do I get there. And then those milestones give you that sense of achievement, so you know you're making forward progress. And when times are tough and you're going through a low patch, you can look at those goals and say, I've got something I'm aiming for.
I do have license for third engineer, and now I keep on studying just to make higher ranks, and hopefully in the near future I will be a good third engineer.
Well-being also depends on how well we get on with those around us. Research shows that the times we are truly happy and joyful often involve other people.
Basically, we're social animals. We don't like to be alone. And as a consequence, we need to be together. Being alone is something we can choose to do at any time, but loneliness is something we don't choose. So we need to keep people away from loneliness. And the best way to do it is to be social.
When Saturday night comes, after dinner, the galley personals are there, also the deck guys as well as the engine guys. They get together. They have this karaoke that they are doing. So just to enjoy their weekend.
We should create the opportunities for people to come together. It allows you to share with other people how you feel. They can share with you. You can feel you're not alone. You can share the upside of life and the downside of life. But it's an important part of being human.
The crew are good. They're approachable. They let me feel like I'm still at home. They're always kind. I learn a lot from them. If one of us feels like homesick like that, or it's very hard to adapt a different kind of environment, we help one each other.
Building the ideal shipboard community where everyone gets on well together will always require a little effort.
So we have now 3 months voyage with one port, and staying here with all these person, different characters, different person, different culture. If we are arguing, if we have some bad relations, bad things between us, we need to solve them. On shore, in real life, you can just abandon the person, just can walk out and forget about it. Here, you cannot.
Why not make the colleagues as a friends? So when you go to the job on the day-to-day basis, if you make environment such that people going there, they consider this as going meeting a friends instead of meeting a colleague or maybe some angry boss. I believe then there will be no need for changing environment on board, because the environment on board is already good.
For many seafarers, maintaining a close connection with home is essential to their well-being.
Being not able to go ashore is okay as long as I have contact with my family. It's very important for me because they are the one who motivates me to overcome all of the stress.
Opening up to friends and family about any worries and negative feelings can provide valuable perspective and help to keep relationships strong.
My dad has been at sea for the longest time, probably longer than, living on land. When my dad left, my mom was pregnant with me, and when he came back, I was more than a year old. And we as a family have developed ways to cope. I think personally communication is key.
If you have wife or husband, if you have children, probably everybody miss them. So if you have bad mood, if something is happening to you, you just can contact with them anytime you can. This is very important for your mental health.
It's like an excitement for me at the end of the day because I know I will get a message from them, and it is a relief.
Internet access, calls, messaging and social media can help strengthen relationships. But sometimes this always-on connection with home life can put seafarers under pressure.
The fact that they have live connection to home, they get real-time crises brought on board the ship. So many years ago, your child may have broken their leg, and you wouldn't hear about it till you get a letter, and the letter would say, little Johnny broke his leg, but he's all right now. Now, little Johnny's broken his leg, I'm waiting for the ambulance. You know, everything's in real time, which you then feel hopeless to do something about. We need to be aware of that, and we need to help prepare people on board and families that they need to manage those messages quite carefully.
I would say that my work now gave me the perspective that you should manage your expectations. And that's from both sides. There will be pressures on your family, on yourself as a seafarer, but having, being on the same page and talking this through before leaving for an assignment or a contract is key.
I make sure that my family understands that at this time, it's time for work and it's no time for Facebook or anything. Work is work and Facebook is Facebook. So it's all about time management.
Well-being can also come from a sense of purpose in your life. This is what makes you get up in the morning, and could be the reason you've chosen to be a seafarer rather than working ashore. But the things people give greatest value to are different for everyone.
This job is really hard, I would say, but I like it. Cadets don't have any special duties or responsibilities on board, but still, we don't have much time for ourselves, because what is our main purpose to be on board? Learn, gain knowledge, raise yourself. So most important for me is to learn to become a proper officer, not to become a model. This is my purpose.
Passing on knowledge or mentoring can also give people a sense of purpose and helps to build self-esteem.
Mentoring is giving back. I think it gives people a great sense of achievement, that they're actually being useful in the world. They're not taking, they're giving. And I think any element of giving, volunteering, whatever it happens to be, makes you feel much better as a human being.
Normally, when I have a cadet here, I am teaching them what is my job, what is the principle of the machineries, and how to be a young and good future engineer.
Every person on board ship has a responsibility towards each other to look after their own crew. It can be called a mentoring, it can be looking after your own crew, your own family members altogether.
I learn a lot from them. What have they have encountered, those mistakes, and I'm just enjoying my work, and I love doing the things that I am doing right now as a seafarer.
And there's one final element that improves our mood and outlook. It's the feeling of vitality we have when we pay attention to our physical well-being.
Exercise produces a number of neurochemicals that allow your brain to thrive. Equally, nutrition does. So if you feed your gut well, you're producing the right chemicals again for your brain to feel, for you to feel better as well. Sleep is an incredibly important part of your day. Sleep regenerates the cells in the body. It allows your brain to assimilate all the learning that you've had during the day. If you don't get enough, then it doesn't discharge enough information, and therefore you haven't learned much from the day. So if you can create the right environment for your brain to thrive, you're going to feel better. It's as simple as that.
Being physically active is one of the most important tools for resetting a person's outlook and starting to feel better.
Nowadays, captain is sitting in office quite a lot. So just to change this environment, I try to go as much as possible out on the deck, have a fresh air, see something more around than the emails and the paperwork and things like that. The gym is another option to reset and get away from the sea environment, just to change the environment. So gym is a very good place to be.
Even when space is limited, it should still be possible to work out on board. And if you're able to get outside to exercise, even better.
Normally, every Saturday in the afternoon, we are playing basketball just to hang out, and we are so happy. We just play like a family, like brothers.
Doing enjoyable activities, building your sense of achievement and purpose, and getting quality rest, food and exercise will all help build a solid foundation for well-being. But coping through difficult times can still be a challenge.
If you have personal problems at home, maybe I'll ask some advices to some guys in here, but not really talking to them what my problem really is. And just asking them, what if I'm going to just cite an example, what if it happens to you or like that? So that you can ask some advices, some suggestions, and then you can also absorb it, and maybe it will come as a solution to you. How will you going to overcome the problem that you're facing right now?
Luckily, seafarers never need to be entirely alone with their problems. There are many support organisations that can help. One option is ISWAN's Seafarer Help. They operate a 24-hour multilingual helpline. Seafarers and their families can contact them through email and live chat, or messaging apps, as well as voice calls.
We recognize that some seafarers do not like sharing, their problems to colleagues at work or to their families, thinking that they might just end up burdening them. When they are overwhelmed, it's very difficult for them sometimes to define what the problem is. So our job is to help them through that. Our team is here to make them feel comfortable, support them throughout the process, but ultimately it is their decision to make on what they want to do about the situation.
It's important to recognize the signs of stress or anxiety in yourself or in others.
Typically, people tend to slow down, may get quite anxious about things, can get irritable, disengage from the community on board. And I think the crew need to be able to recognise those things. I mean, if you do know your fellow crew well, you can see a change. And if you see a change, then I think, as human beings, we naturally like to rally around and help them out.
For anyone who's worried about themselves or a crewmate, face-to-face support is available from organisations such as the Mission to Seafarers. They provide free and confidential support through a worldwide network of seafarer centres. Many of the chaplains and support staff are trained in resilience guidance and pastoral care, so there's always someone you can talk to. And if shore leave is not possible, you can arrange for someone to visit the ship.
We are a global organisation. We are represented in so many ports around the world that the seafarers have not got to look too far to get some help. You do get those signs from the seafarers. Maybe those that when you meet on board, those seafarers that don't want to go ashore. And I think that's the importance of the mission. That's why we're also, as a society, very proactive about visiting as many ships as we can once they come into the port. As soon as somebody comes up the gangway and says, I'm from the mission, the seafarers then know this is somebody I can talk to. This is somebody I can pour my heart out to, if need be.
There's always something we can do to improve how we feel and to become better able to cope with what life throws at us. Whether it's drawing on our inner resources or looking outside ourselves to friends, family, crewmates and support organisations. We all want to feel satisfied in our lives, and it really is in our power to achieve this. To get you started, remember these 5 tips. Do more of what makes you happy. Keep learning new skills. Connect with people. Give to others. And be physically active.
Even if you have a problem, try to think that all of the problem has a solution. every day, think it as a blessing, and always positive vibe.